Hey there, we're going over Panda's demo this time. I think it's just a scrim and he's playing Scout and Open. Let's get started.
Play ball.
Alright, so I don't really like this particular rollout where you actually end up jumping up this wooden plank here, because I don't feel like it opens up a whole lot of options for you, since you're kind of blocked by the nipple for your first couple seconds of mid, and the only real advantage it has is getting somewhere early. But since you can't really do anything with it, I would probably not prefer it. Maybe it works out for you personally, but just for me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Just letting you know. You're actually going to be going under. So the most important the most important thing about Gully Watch for scouts is that you not give up your position on the high ground. So by forfeiting it immediately and going under, you kind of have to do a whole lot early before they get up. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of stuck on the ground and not doing a whole lot the entire mid. And since they got up elbow pretty quickly, just from what you saw there, you're probably not going to have the best mid. Let's see. See, they're already up here. If they're paying a little bit of attention, they're not going to get screwed over by this. And by the time you actually do get up here, it's still not really useful, even though you picked up the med. So basically what you're looking to do at mid is either get up early because there's no pressure on the side you happen to roll out, or pressure a little bit, fall back to the mid, and use that buff to get up, and just stay up there for the rest of the mid. And you're basically just waiting for buffs from the mid to kind of cue your aggression across the point. So right now there's fighting going on at Big Door, which means if someone's coming choke, you can get a lot of efficient damage on him, and even though you didn't have a full buff there, you could afford to take some damage because there's a pill bottle right beneath you. So this damage trade's pretty decent, even though they have a health back to fall onto, just to kind of keep them out. So yeah, you find this opportunity. Probably shouldn't have walked over that stick. Could have taken the time to shoot it, or just not really walk over it, kind of sidestep it. But that was pretty good, just your general idea there. Now that you guys are down 4, I would expect to be holding lobby pretty soon. But I guess Charisse was their med. No? I don't know, we'll see how that goes. So let's fast forward till you get there. And you just got the soldier with his crits. And yeah, you really can't do a whole lot with that. Now I assume they're close to Uber. I guess your medic got out at mid and was running crits, which is probably not the best idea. Running crits to mid is kinda shitty, because if you lose with it and you keep your med up, it's pretty good. Then even then they can kind of choose when to get into you if they won, because they have numbers. You can't really push into them with a couple of people. You risk kind of losing them all. And if you end up winning, in the case where you've killed the medic, you're kind of sitting on a crits, which would have been less valuable than an Uber. So it's basically only good in the situations where you can actually use it during the mid and like very shortly after you cap the mid. So their med has to live, and you have to be able to get to him before he gets Uber for the crits to really be a better choice than Uber. So right now, it's pretty obvious that everyone's going to be looking at Roar for a bit more. So you had a couple seconds there where you could have pushed up a little bit and just kind of shot at them. Also, from his bomb, because he's going past 2 people, I would expect the Demo Man to sticky him off, like just wall sticky him a little bit, and the Scout to put up at least a little bit of damage on him. So that extra bit of pressure kind of opens a window up for you to follow up on what he did, because I wouldn't expect him to force it with that kind of jump. So you're down 1, and I don't really think you should be looking to push right now. Your team's very close to Uber, and if you lose this 1v1, you're probably not defending second. In general, I would not even consider defending second. If they kind of have it locked down, then there's nothing you're really going to do except for waste your Uber and kind of getting into them, because they can just kite you away. So this fight in general I don't think is a very good fight to take, because you're already down one. You've accomplished what you guys set out to do at 2, and getting this extra pick really isn't going to help. So yeah, they're still Ubered. You're going to be behind them. You're going to have a... Yeah, you're just going to... This guy's buffed. That was a no-reg, which is unfortunate, but you're really not going to accomplish much, and your team can't do a whole lot. You guys have crits, so... Your critzing, it's not the best. Like, they have a really set up position. Yeah, I just probably wouldn't go into them. You have to really think about what you're playing for there. And your roamer already sacked in to get the force, so 2's kind of... Mulligan is kind of giving up there. That was really good targeting. Damaged your scout a bit there, just so he couldn't push you when you turned around for the soldier. But after you hit that 70 damage, you have to really be concerned about this soldier who doesn't have a buff, just jumped, and is obviously going to cap the points, so you have to stop him. So ignoring him was probably a mistake there. Fortunately, they kind of overextend and don't have the best last push. Fast forward. You probably should let someone else take your medic out, especially for second. It's really important to have forward pressure on second. So I'd put a slower class that's probably weaker, like health-wise at the time, with the med, waiting for the med, as opposed to a scout, because a 2x cap is really useful, and it's really easy to spot and hold off big door as a scout. So having 1 cap and 1 hold big door is pretty effective. It's really easy to re-push into second given certain conditions, and since they died in kind of 2 waves at last, I would expect some of their players to be able to defend it. So not going up with your team kind of puts them at risk to getting killed by some sort of aggression off the spawn. And yeah, you don't want to be building here. In general, if you see people coming into a point, just don't build. Someone else will cover that. And if they don't, your med's obviously going to be actively healing people that haven't been healed because he just got here. You need to make sure the soldier dies. Which he did, but I don't like that you looked away from him. Maybe between shots, but you kind of left your roamer out to dry, or pocket out to dry a little bit, whoever was up there, by not supporting him a bit more. Alright, so here, you're taking the corner wide because you don't have a buff, which is good, but I still think at this point you should probably get a buff, even though I think you guys just covered, so you probably have Uber. So your team just lost someone pushing in. Hopefully that's not your medic, which it isn't. So I guess you were trying to push off of that pick, which I'm not sure that was the best idea. And it looks like their med lived at last, because they're going to be able to push in on you. No, he didn't. They're just kind of dry pushing. No, he did. Alright, I'm just a little confused. Yeah, for, like, that situation is really weird. I don't even know why your team is trying to push. And if I were to push off of a pick like that, I'd sack someone first, or try to scout lead. Because not really a whole lot is going to get accomplished from, like, an Uber. They're going to be prepared for it. Especially through that choke point. They obviously got killed there, and it really wasn't successful. So in that situation, if your team wanted to push, you, your roamer, and your scout partner should have looked to take a buff and pressure flank really hard. Kind of get some damage trades there, fall back onto the 2 health packs you have available, and kind of get ready to re-push, because your combo should be pushing as you guys are falling back a little bit, just on the basis of the ammo that the enemies spent on you and the damage they took, which isn't going to get healed up quite as quick because you guys are taking the initiative and getting the packs a bit quicker. But in general, I don't think that push was a great idea. So you're not going to be able to defend too, I don't think. They should be coming through choke right now. But their team got a little scattered, so you guys cleaned up most of them. Which means you're looking to find your med here. You need crit heals before you do anything. And yeah, you guys are giving this up anyway. If a couple of your players had lived, just survived a bit longer, you probably could have pushed in there. You don't want to be fighting anything right now because your buffs decayed a little bit. And at the same time, it's already a really low number situation, so any risks you take kind of are compounded pretty hard. Even though you kind of have a spawn advantage because they're closer to last, I wouldn't be taking this risk until the rest of your team is up. So if you really wanted to spot up top, I would probably do it from a bit further back, just from a timing standpoint of you only saw the demo on the ground. So the med and scout, I think the med's still up, could have been on the point already crossing over as the demo capped and pushed up, so you don't really know where they are, so just take it a bit easy, hugging the side walls here, I guess the outer walls, so you can kind of get a bit earlier sight of what's going on up here. So the fact that you guys have a sniper means you're going to have to kind of play off of him. So you have to worry about people putting up aggression from the top right. There's like the balcony area. There's a lot of people, myself included, who will just, on the call that there's a lot of people in river, will just go in there and get behind them. And if there's not a lot of pressure on the left side when I enter this area, I'm pretty much going to guarantee you get all the kills in river. My team's going to kind of pincer them. It's going to be pretty nasty. So you have to really worry about the balcony when you have a sniper sniping that aggressively in river, because obviously he can't really defend himself from a really aggressive push, and he's not going to be able to leave if someone's aggressing through balcony. I wouldn't be worried about building here because there's an ammo pack available. And kind of like that situation is a very good example of why that's not the best idea. Your medic had to stick on you for a bit longer rather than switch buffs around for this potential push because you were bleeding out, and you didn't have your scatter out to accurately, or like to deal damage basically. You couldn't really deal with the situation because you had your Boston Basher out. There are very, very, very few times I would actually use the Boston Basher to build. One of them being coming out of spawn, you're the only one with the medic. You're coming out of the spawn and the other player is a soldier. I'd rather have him go ahead, collect packs, and make sure he's up to speed rather than building with the medic. And then in situations where ammo is very, very scarce, you can Boston Basher build. But for the most part, it's a waste of health because you're building at around 150, so you only have 25 extra health. The medic's not really protected because he's in a situation where everyone around him isn't as buffed as they would be with a soldier build, because he has to stick on the scout more to kind of buff. Otherwise, he runs the risk of having a really low scout as they push in that's ticked down to like 115 or 120, which is really unfortunate. And obviously your scatter's not out to defend the medic, so he's kind of restricted in his movements just at the beginning of a push. So if they surprise you guys like they did right now, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Let's see what you do here. Yeah, pretty much it's a great idea to get aggressive here. You guys are fucked. Like, they had a really good play. They dropped their roamer, and I think their scout's still alive, or Mr. Slynn just died, so their scout dropped. They could even wait, honestly, for their respawns because they have 100%, and just playing a bit better, they would keep you out of lobby. But just this kind of play is a good idea, and I think they're gonna end up waiting a little bit. Oh no, they're going straight in. But yeah, you kind of have to get a play there, but I wouldn't be trying to force the medic since he's going to be using anyway. So forcing him like a second away from the shattered door where they ended up pushing anyway doesn't really achieve much. But if you can damage the scouts or the scout that was there, or maybe the demo, and live yourself, that's probably the kind of aggression you want, because A, it's going to buy you a little bit of time, they're going to get distracted by you for a little bit, and you're getting this free damage as they expect a push.
Our control point is being captured.
Alright, so let's see what you do this mid. Hopefully you don't stay on the ground. It looks like that's what you're doing. So yeah, if you're going to be on the ground, you should probably fight that soldier a little bit, just so you can slow him down for your team. That's kind of the mantra of playing on the ground. If you don't go quick enough, you're basically baiting your team. They're not really getting a whole lot of use out of you. So you have to fight the soldier, hopefully live. If you can all in him, and that trade is really good just because you've killed him really, really early. And that kind of deletes the soldier phase of mid, which is really strong on Gully Wash. It kind of controls the entire thing, sets the flow for the rest of the mid. So if you can trade with a soldier there, it's good. Ideally, and probably most often, you're just going to be trading with him damage-wise, and you can fall back to your mid and get buffed up and take that juicy buff to the end of mid. Because right now you really haven't done a whole lot. And you have this good flank because you're on the ground, but this person saw you, or just pre-fired it because they had the luxury of pre-firing because there wasn't a whole lot of pressure up, and it resulted in you kind of getting mulched for free. So maybe delay when you go up banana if you do end up having to flank there. In this situation, you guys should be concerned about taking lobby a little bit, just to slow them down. And that's just a timing thing at mid, because I think they only had 2 times on cap, but there was an opportunity to take lobby. And yeah, you should be concerned with damaging these people on flank. Basically, the only way you're going to do a whole lot on a last where you don't have Uber, and they do as a scout, is by pushing into the other side with a buff. So building at the start there probably wasn't the best idea, just in the vein of thought that you were pushing forward to defend lobby a little bit and buy yourselves a little time. And even in not doing that, it's still probably the best idea not to build there, just because you can take your buff more frequently and just push the opposite side. So you can see how it'd be a little effective, because you'd meet one of these scouts or demos a little bit earlier before they were in the range to get flashed, and obviously if you timed your buff right when you were pushing them, you could be pretty confident in your health advantage over them. Like, I wouldn't imagine that guy at River to really have a good buff because their team pushed in so quickly after capping the point. And if he did, it would have decayed a considerable amount, since you have a little bit less travel time from your medic than he does from his. So this is a good fight. Just make sure you, like, sounds stupid, but make sure you hit him. Like, I know you're trying to get really accurate shots by just placing your crosshair on his escape, but when you're at a health advantage like that, you can afford to not really worry about the mistake, because you can really assume that you're going to chase if you do a lot of damage, or that there is an opportunity available to chase since you have a little bit better health. And you came up to him at 150, and I don't think he was buffed, so. Okay, so immediately whenever you jump off of that balcony area, you want to look towards choke. That demo probably could be hitting you right now with his second stick, and you wouldn't really have the time to react to it in certain situations. So you saw, I think that was their scout that went into last. So you know you have one behind. Maybe it was your scout partner, but yeah, see, they're fighting in lobby. Didn't really matter, but I would have been concerned about him, and I think their team probably should have stopped you from capping. And so, yeah, just look to take their health back. You can wait on this for a little while and just manage respawns. I think their roamer is coming up right now. Now you wanna... Okay, so you don't really want to let this roamer fight you in a very comfortable spot. If you can make him look towards you on the left side, you have the pill bottle available to you, a couple of height advantages to juke off of the metal sheet, the first floor and the second floor, and most importantly, he's looking away from your team, so they have a really easy push into him. Whereas right now, you kind of went here early, or too late, and he got a lot of free damage on you while you were kind of stuttering around those crates.
Alert. The control point is being contested.
You should probably be capping mid right now, and your combo would probably favor going back here a bit more. Because this is setting up a 1v1 that you might not win, and obviously you're going to cap a bit quicker than your combo.
Alert. Our control point is being captured.
And you're not as punishable, like this soldier was lucky to get out. So you guys have advantage, even if you didn't drop their med by probably about 20-30%, but they end up getting it. So I think you guys are just gonna Uber a choke, and if it goes poorly, all you're looking to do is make sure you get a crit buff at the end of it. So either they didn't actually have it, and your team had a pretty good push, or the Uber was just better and they end up getting mid. In general, I think that you should have followed up for a buff. Like, that's really the most important thing as Scout, is getting a buff. It really takes your class to the next level. So you want to deal damage to that soldier on the left there rather than picking at the demo. So this kind of movement would have been better earlier because you would have been more loaded and he would be weaker than he is right now. Giving him a chance to heal up a bit isn't very ideal. So now that Demo Man's overextended, you can kind of beat up on him for free. But you might have wanted to make sure your shots hit a bit more there, since you had the luxury of him not knowing where you were, and reload a little bit more at the same time, just so you could probably kill him even if you didn't hit the best shots.
Time has been added.
So right now they kept their med up. They're probably at 80%, and they're probably pushing soon. You don't want to fight this guy without a buff. As you can see, he had a buff. You're pretty lucky that you won that fight. You need to be taking a buff right now. Your med lives, so that was fortunate. I thought he died, so you guys don't have to worry about getting pushed too soon. So basically where you want to be playing at last is you want to be constantly taking a buff and peeking main, just to kind of sniff out a sniper if they're running one, maybe catch a spy or catch a little bit earlier their aggression through main. If they end up Ubering there, if you can spot it out a bit earlier, it's very beneficial for your team. Or if no one else is balcony top right, you can kind of pressure there, look into lobby, or if you're river side, you can kind of pressure there with your buff and look to see where if they're coming from river. I think main's probably the strongest position if other people are kind of covering things and you have a choice, because you can actually push on things pretty easily there. So if you end up trading with a scout pretty well, you can walk in and your team can kind of peek at the same time, since they're so close to shower door already traditionally, and kind of support you from there. So if you end up getting behind, their med drops, and at this point you don't want to do anything too risky because you've already dropped their med. So going down a player is just likely to slow your push a lot. And if you don't get a trade here, it's going to be really bad. They can delay you a lot, enough that they're probably going to be able to hold mid. Whereas 100% Uber advantage, I'd be looking to take 2 points, regardless of how far back you are. So I just would have been a little more careful with that aggression. Make sure you had some escape options rather than going straight into them. And it ends up kind of showing because your team kind of got out DM'd as a whole. And now they can't really push out last at all, and they end up Ubering for really not that much of a reason. And you guys are going to take second, but they're going to have Uber advantage now. It's only going to be 20%, and it's not going to matter that much. But it's still a little bit problematic. Your entire team should probably just ignore that door and exit through the bottom right. It's going to be a lot easier to get through there. You saw that soldier on the top, probably should have focused him a bit earlier. I guess you didn't see him because the edge of your camera or point of view, I guess. Which is a little bit unfortunate because he was the only one you were going to be able to really get damage onto. So you have to make sure you don't take a whole lot of damage in capping this, because if they wanted to push in, you don't really want to be in a position where you get shit on. So if someone could have taken your place there while you got a bottle, or just kind of had the luxury of dodging, that probably would have been a bit better. So they're down their roamer, but I think their medic still has advantage, and if I recall correctly, you guys tried pushing off this before, so let's see if you do it again. They didn't end up using their advantage. So you can bully that soldier a bit more, because I don't think that's their roamer yet. I think that might be their pocket, but I could be wrong. And since it's a 5v6, you can't really get punished. And you should probably time this aggression a bit more with your soldier. So the second shot, you probably should have peeked with him, as opposed to going forward and then pushing the scout back even further, so when he peeked it, the scout was really far back. I guess you're lagging out or something, or just talking. But yeah, this isn't, like, this kind of aggression, I don't think it helps very much. And it's just likely to get you killed against a better team. They'll have a lot more people there. If you keep doing it for a prolonged time without a buff, you're just gonna get run over. So make sure you have a big buff before doing it, and make sure you kind of take your shots really slowly, because it's not about how much life you retain after the kill, because you aren't going to be following it up with anything. It's about how fast you kill him, because if you can kill him with 3 shots, it's a lot better than, you know, potentially killing him in 5 shots, since he's going to be actively running away from you. So you probably won't have the opportunity to hit him with 5 shots. So it's better to make sure that your couple shots that you do get at him that are good shots count. And here, if you were tryharding really hard, you would leave that medic up for a bit just to kind of force him to get a later spawn wave, excuse me. And you don't really need to cap this, because without the medic, at this point I think it's pretty easy to get in, even though I think their demo was up. And you're not really looking to stack forwards unless you can deny a demo or med spawn for the most part. Your team could already have position on 2 and probably be capping it. Yeah, see, this is pretty free. And just having one person on cap, I probably would even put a scout on it, would have been beneficial. So you have to let your mag know to kind of kite towards rock as you see that soldier getting aggressive towards the edge of that wooden platform. And right now you're concerned about health more than capping. Your other scout can cap, no problem. You can just get your health and your ammo and be ready for the last push. Because your team still has advantage, even if it's kind of minor, I think, probably only about 40%. And you guys are Ubering in, and you want to be there at least buffed for the after push. But probably with this Uber advantage you wanted to be in. As you can kind of see, you know, you got there late, and they kind of rushed you. Your push suffered because of it. in general, like, if you're gonna push immediately, you want as versatile a composition as possible in your Uber. So since you guys have advantage and you're pushing off of it, it'd probably be best to take a demo scout and soldier in there. Just because obviously the scout's going to be able to deal with the pyro pretty easily. The soldier can kind of jump around if he needs to. And the demo's got a pretty nice range. Probably should have put up a little bit more aggression for that equalizing soldier, but not really that big of a deal. At this point, you can die, and it wouldn't be that bad because you guys are losing mid anyway. So you guys actually make a good play and you get a couple kills. So now you can pretty much defend mid. You don't want to be fighting people here. This guy's got the meta beam on him. So just playing around these corners is a good idea. I think the demo's out of stickies, so you might want to just kill him. Yeah, he was reloading. Top decking, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, taking this slow is really nice, except kind of missed him there. Lost track of him a bit. But the idea of it was really nice. We took it a bit slower after you got some kills. Or after you got some damage on that side, rather. So right now, if your team's still going in, which they're not, you should have been with them. So you guys are going at 2, but you guys extended it a little bit too far when you were already winning. Because you picked up that demo, and at that point, I would just kind of take it slow and just rely on the fact that they don't have a demo to kind of secure 2. You're building way too low here. You don't need to build below. You only need to build below. I think it's like 145% of your max health. So that's, I don't know, something like 160 for scout. So I build around 150, and that gives me the optimal build rate. So building any lower is just a waste. I don't think you guys are waiting for Uber in entirely the best spot. If you want people on point, it's better for your mech to be more towards choke rather than potentially getting trapped in near the point or near the rock. You should kind of love tap that guy just so he knows that you're there, and it kind of hurts his aggression a bit, maybe stymies it a little bit. So right now, yeah, you should have been tasked with forcing them, and you probably should have communicated to your team that you're going to force them, because having your roamer go in here and die is pretty unfortunate, whereas you can work this angle without taking a whole lot of damage, as you were about to do. And yeah, you should just try and get the pill bottle here, because you're not going to be able to leave, so you might as well get a little bit HP while fighting their Uber. So you're winning pretty hard, so you can afford to come up big door. Yeah, I kind of just flank them. You're not going to be able to get through choke and get a buff. Okay, so this guy doesn't see you when you kill him. Make sure you get a buff now. Stick with your team for a bit. There's no point in getting up here without a buff. You're like a second away from a buff, so just to prevent any stupid aggression from really killing you, you want to get a buff there. Hopefully the other scout is in the Uber, otherwise, yeah, okay, that's fine. You shouldn't be concerned with damaging on that side of the map, because just by the lack of presence on that side of the map, it's pretty obvious there's stuff to the left of you, or stuff going behind you, like someone jumped balcony and someone was just sitting left and waiting and kind of shot you in the back. You want to make sure in those situations where, especially when you don't have a buff, you're not concerned about focusing. You're more concerned about maintaining your buff and position. So again, you want to threaten the guy jumping by making it known that if he leaves, you'll probably kill their medic. So if someone ends up falling on you, and I don't know if that was a good trade, because they're already pretty low, and a soldier that's low is out of the fight. So I think you probably didn't benefit a whole lot from that.
Alert. The control point is being contested.
Yeah, thanks, Doc.
So your team should be holding lobby, and in this situation you're either spotting from health pack if your demos are really aggressive, the lower right door, or up here with your roamer. I'd probably play a little bit further back with your roamer, or further back than your roamer, just so you are healthy enough when, if someone does aggress on him, that you can kind of all in them and not have been taking the same damage that was already being dealt to him.
Has been added.
So yeah, you guys gotta pick with your forward hold. I don't know if you're still setting it up, but you should still be a bit further up. Can be actively taking buffs from your medic, who I would assume is close to shutter. Okay, you guys backed up, so not a big deal. Okay, you probably wanted to shoot the scout there, just because I would have expected him to notice you a bit earlier. I don't think he would have been able to really get onto the medic there, and just damage him enough that if he tries to chase you, you'll probably kill him. Or if at a certain range, like a medium range, you can probably kill him. Because I really wouldn't expect against a good team there to really get surprised by that. Especially considering the scout was kind of looking at you for a little bit, but that was a good play nonetheless. Yeah, so this is another one of those situations where I would have preferred you shooting other people if your team kind of was playing a bit closer. As you can see, they're still going to kill you because you guys pushed in while they still had buffs, and it's really not that much of a difference not having a mag in a fight right after your mag dies, as long as he or she has been healing properly. So, you know, spread your damage a bit more there, and kind of, since you had this surprise, hide and delay a bit for your team to get in position to kind of pincer with you. And in that situation, you kind of want to focus the demo. If your team wasn't going to show up at all, which probably would have been the best case since you killed their medic, but being really good, they could kind of slow them down in lobby for their buffs to get decay and get damaged off, and then you guys had an advantage for pushing into 2. So if you expected to kill the mag there, I'd tell everyone to kind of piss off. But I think it's more effective, more consistent in general, just to pincer all the fragging classes. Yeah, you want to make sure you get spammed here, because this guy would get shit on if your team was actively spamming this, so just make sure it's known that you're going to need help there. But that's kind of the situation I would expect you to do earlier. Just kind of make sure you don't die, because that's really what's important about aggression in a defensive position. You never want to really have a possibility of dying. Like, you want to eliminate the possibility of dying as much as possible. But it's still really good that you're putting up aggression, because it's going to slow them down and kind of put them off of balance. So yeah, you're doing this. I probably would have been happy trading with that guy as long as I go left, so hug the right wall so he can't pop you up, and then trade some damage with him. Because preventing him from jumping or making it so that if he does jump he dies is probably the best function of pushing underneath. But like I said, I think you should be trying different mids. If your demo's going choke, you send one scout generally. Overhang and one scout. Choke, overhang is just that thing above banana that you can jump on to get to the left side a bit quicker. If you guys are going big door, you could try a double scout aggression towards the right, or one scout on the point and one scout right. Something like that, where your scouts at the beginning of mid are being used more efficiently to kind of focus down a particular rollout if they happen to choose that. It's just kind of a luck thing. The scouts together are pretty powerful at the beginning of this mid. You should probably have helped your scout partner with that scout on the floor, just because the demo is not going to be able to damage you without dropping down and jeopardizing his position, which would kind of set you guys up for the next kill, because he'd be pretty easy to fight even with a buff. And doing damage to a demo like that is not really efficient. Like, he's probably not gonna die since you don't have a buff and he's full buff. You saw his heal particles, so you knew he was buffed. And then just knowing that the medic was up, you should really be looking to chase frags away from the medic. So by fighting the scout, unless the demo and med dropped down, they were pretty much useless since the only people in were your scouts at the time. Alright, so I don't know what happened with their med. Maybe he or she lived. Well, we'll see. It doesn't really matter, your med just died, so you're not doing anything here. So yeah, you're not... I think they have charge, so I wouldn't really be playing this mid range with them, because it's really important that you force them. TF2 really isn't about what points you have, it's more about what kind of the state of the Uber is on. Are at the time. So if you have Uber advantage but you lost a point for it, for the most part I'd feel comfortable in that, because you can take the next point without using with 100% for sure, potentially the next, and then have kind of a Uber v Uber stalemate for the third point you're contesting. And at that point you can suicide in and try to force their Uber and just control yours. So if you're playing properly, having Uber advantage just kind of snowballs a lot. Especially if their mech gets caught out of position, you just kill him, and at certain points, and if everyone lives, that's just game. So I probably would have gotten aggressive there just to force them to keep them from pushing further, because right now I think they should be kind of shooting next. Maybe they don't have it. I thought they'd be a bit closer than they were. Maybe their med died and this is like mid-fight number 3 of the round.
Yeah, thanks, Doc.
Time has been added.
Your team's doing pretty well here. I still think they might have it. I don't really know who their med's name. I haven't really paid that much attention. It's a bit unfortunate, but I think they have the oobs. So you guys can inhabit this area for a long time and feel pretty comfortable in doing that, because if you put damage on the people that aren't pushing choke, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference to you when you end up Ubering in on them. So if you're Ubering on point, or while they're on point, and you kind of Uber into them from big door, it's not that much different than Ubering into them right now. You're on point, they're a little bit in front of the point. In fact, it kind of cuts them off, and because you're letting them get a bit further, all that damage you've caused to the flank is just going to slow them down even more, because they're getting pushed back, potentially actually damaged, because they won't have enough health packs to kind of recuperate, and they have a longer distance to travel because their team's pushing up further because they don't really know what's going on. As long as you time it properly, it really can't be punished. But you actually have to do things with the Uber and kind of get into them. So now you want to push out bottom right because there's still a scout around, and I think that one was with the combo, so I imagine there's someone big door right now. In general, this could be sticky, so I'd want to avoid that. And with the momentum you guys have, it's kind of expected that they're going to be falling out through a door, so peeking bottom right, which is closer to an exit, is probably better. Good damage on the demo. Good damage on the soldier. You want to be going drop down now. You're far ahead of your team, so you're not really going to be able to kind of commit without risking your own life. And even though, like, since you delayed there, it didn't really make a difference. But I would prefer delaying earlier, getting a buff, and then pushing more aggressively after the buff, whereas you're just kind of maintaining a little bit ahead of your medic, and it's a little too far, and it's not that great. So since that guy just took damage, if he's not getting a health back, you need to be pushing a little bit, just creating some pressure. Don't really think it's the best to kind of have two scouts on point. Especially when your team's getting ready to push like that. So you want to be more aggressive with this buff. You let a lot of it just go to waste. You went from 180 to 160, and then after taking some damage, 140 to 125. You want to play really aggressive on flank with your buff, and then kind of push back as it decays and gets chipped away at. And in that sense, if you take the corners tight, you might actually run into someone, and your roamer there can kind of capitalize on your damage. This wasn't the best idea, but I think your team thought you guys had Uber advantage, so understandable. And your medic dies late, so he's gonna have a shitty spawn, so I'd expect to defend last, so it might not even be a bad idea to go NG. But that demo fucks up really hard and doesn't kill you. You probably should have aggressed the demo just because if he was good, he probably would have hit you with a sticky, predicting you to escape. So to prevent him from kind of hitting you with a sticky, you just push him a little bit. And if he doesn't fire behind you, then you could then fall out and just kind of play that game, pushing in and out with him until he fires a sticky. Because either way, you're gonna die if he's not crap. You can just actually get some damage out of him, potentially kill him if you force yourself into a situation where you can get close to him.
Thanks, Doc.
So yeah, you want to be looking main with this, but take this more carefully, and your crosshair should be towards an area where you're expecting someone to come from. So hugging this left corner right here, or this right corner, and making sure that if someone peeks that, your crosshair is already there ready to shoot them, and that way you have an advantage pushing into them. So you want to check balcony, because there's a lot of people that'll hang out there when they're trying not to stay in the Uber. But yeah, that was fine. I would be a little concerned here about capping with both scouts for this long. Probably should have half capped and then kind of made sure nothing got into lobby. Because it's really easy to use their spawns, and I think they had 2 spawn waves to push in to big door. And if no one's there, they have a lot of opportunities to kind of get behind you guys. So just in the idea of limiting their first spawn, which is probably less people, I think, you want to kind of push up there a bit early. But the initial cap time was good. Okay, yeah, you shouldn't be building here. If your pocket can't manage ammo, then you just need to fucking work on that. So you should be actively doing something. If you're getting these buffs at choke, you should be always in a position where you can push off your teammates' damage at choke, or always in a position where you can spot that sight line towards the ammo pack and above the forward spawn at choke. Because right now you're just sitting on your buff and letting it decay. So the way I used to play, I would just play like there's kind of two ways you can play a choke as a scout. You can wait for your team to do damage and with your half decayed buff push in and your mech heals you up and you just kind of all in the guy that is a little bit weak and maybe you get a trade or maybe you get the kill and have an opportunity to fight another 1v1. Or you can be the first kind of aggressor at choke, do a bunch of damage and trade with a splash class, and as long as the heal beam's been on you, it creates enough pressure from a class that normally wouldn't be useful at choke that your teammates, their splash classes, kind of push in a bit further and start like doing something off of your damage a bit. That's, I don't know, that's pretty much it. Otherwise just spot the sightline, because right now you're not doing a whole lot. Like in that situation, I would be totally fine if you were watching that sightline, knew they were there, called to your team that you're going to be running into them and trying to force, and just being satisfied with that and forcing them and having your team get out, repush second if their Uber was really bad and your soldiers knocked them around a bit, but probably not, and just be confident that once you spawn, you guys are holding aggressively in lobby, and then you can take 2 for free, maintain this advantage, and probably take mid with Uber or even without, and just kind of get a point for free in that sense. So if you go underneath like that and the demo sees you, you probably want to do a double take on him rather than continuing this way, because I would imagine a more experienced demo would just sticky this off. This is a good flank. You don't want to run into this soldier though. You're already winning. It's assumed that your team's going to come help you. So by risking like fighting really close with this soldier, you're kind of jeopardizing the advantage you guys already have. You never want to drop someone when you could not drop them. And in this situation it's so controlled that you don't really have to worry about it. So just play further back, make sure he can't jump away, but make it so that you fight the like 5v1 instead of the 1v1 and then your team comes to help. So I don't know if you're stopping their med spawn or their demo spawn, since their demo died really late. So I don't know if that was really worth it, but it looks like you guys did, or they spawned so quickly that it didn't really matter. You can kill this guy. He's fired 2 rockets at your team. And even though you don't have a whole lot of ammo, you still had a like 150 buff. So if you kind of approached him a little more sneakily I guess, and not fired as far away, you probably could have killed that guy with ease, just from his general posture, like he was looking towards your team. Kind of out of position, I would feel. Like I would kind of say he's out of position. And even if you peek him and your first shot is surprising, you still have those stairs which are kind of unsplashable, because stairs are stupid in this game. So you have pretty much ample time to escape, even if you're pretty close to him. And yeah, this is another thing, not really having a buff, which is unfortunate. It should be something you guys are looking to do before pushes, is buff all your teammates. And it's good that you spot the sentry gun, but you probably wanted to stay in sneaky just so you had some sort of effect in the Uber. And it looks like time's up. So yeah. The biggest thing was your mids. I don't like that you're going on the ground. I think there's a lot of opportunities for you to play top left or top right. If you're going to play on the ground, if you just really like that style of play, you should look to exchange with a soldier or make it very, very apparent to them that if they jump away, their medic is likely going to die. Because creating that kind of strain for the soldier is really good. I don't like that you're building with Boston Basher too much. I've kind of explained it in every scout video now, but yeah, it's just not that great. There's very, very little redeeming things about it. Just the only good thing that it has above soldier building is that it doesn't require ammo. So if there's ammo available nearby, there is no excuse for a soldier not to build, so fuck off. And then, let's see. Other than that, like your flanks are really good, but some of your decision making is a little weak after you are successful on a flank. And sometimes you're missing out on packs when you're in a really bad situation that you can afford to take a risk like that since you're probably going to lose a 1v1 anyway. And then you get a little greedy and like see the mag too much and kind of go in on him, where a better team probably would react to you and kill you quicker. Or just as you, even this team kind of out DM'd you guys even after you got their medic a couple situations, just because it's not really that influential in a straight kind of firefight. Having your medic up, he's not really going to do a whole lot aside from absorb 150 damage plus any damage that's overkill, and any damage he regens, and kind of put out 32 health a second, which isn't that useful in a lot of situations when you consider that Max on the demo, who's probably going to be fine regardless of what health he is anyway. If he's on a situation where people are on him, he's going to be doing maximum damage regardless of his health. So if their mech's not getting really aggressive and kind of healing their scouts and soldiers very, very well, the situation, they're not really going to help their team a whole lot. So if you're expecting to fight soon, I probably wouldn't be looking to kill a medic there. It opens up a lot of room for the rest of your team if you kill a fragging class, especially if it's a flank class, because it makes flank very, very vulnerable. So, you know, one of your other players can get a flank, you can get one yourself. That's about it. I don't know, there wasn't a whole lot in the demo to really talk about that really sums up everything. So, yeah, good luck with improving a scout.